Collecting the ultimate weapons is something of a rite of passage when it comes to Final Fantasy games, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, there's always been something rather special about using them to supercharge your characters and deal massive damage. Earlier installments had these weapons often being obtained by defeating strong enemies, finding them in treasure chests, or even as drops, but Final Fantasy VII introduced what would start off a trend of outlandish quests that would make acquiring these weapons of massive power even more difficult. To give some examples, Tifa's premium heart is obtained by examining a machine in an abandoned building that has the signed item outside it in Wall Market. However, you can only get to this building after finding the key to Midgar, which is buried in Bone Village. Steiner's Excalibur 2 can be found in Memoria. You have to inspect the pillar in the Gate to Space Room only after defeating Lich, and with less than 12 hours on the game clock. Very hard! And Lulu's Onion Knight, which involves going back to the far plane to pick up the Venus Crest and then going through the painful, arduous and soul-sapping task of dodging those 200 lightning bolts. Ah, fun times. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I'll ever forget the moment when I finally got my Venus Sigil. Anyway, Final Fantasy XV decided to forego the quest route and went back to the more straightforward route of having you go through dungeons and beat some mean enemies. And with this video, we're going to take you through Final Fantasy XV's best weapons in each discipline, at least when it comes to raw attack damage, and we'll also cover what you've got to do to get them. The vast majority of these weapons won't even enter into your thinking until you finish the game, with many of them requiring the glorious Dungeon Seal key, which unlocks those ominous locked doors. But if you're up for the challenge, there's a ton of fun to be had with acquiring these weapons. And we're going to start it off with Balmung. This is a rather impressive piece of weaponry, and is the ultimate in the sword class, featuring 466 attack, plus 3 critical and plus 11 to your maximum MP. What makes Balmung interesting is that it deals more damage the less MP you have. For every percentage point that's used, you do 4% more damage. It therefore makes it a rather powerful weapon that's also exclusive to Noctis. To acquire Balmung, you need to head to the Staylith Grove dungeon. This is actually where you visit in Chapter 7 with Aranea, but when you go back in Chapter 15, you'll be going to that second dungeon that's behind the sealed door. You will need to battle through a number of floors, and after beating a bunch of Tonbris, Balmung will drop and you will have a badass sword. Apocalypse. Equipable by Noctis and Gladiolus, Apocalypse is the ultimate greatsword in Final Fantasy XV. It features a whopping 597 attack, plus 2 critical, and adds 403 to your maximum HP. What's interesting about this weapon, aside from those stats, is the bonus. Apocalypse does more damage when the wielder has less than 30% HP, with the damage increasing for every percentage point below that 30% mark. To acquire this weapon, you need to head to the Battle of Mines dungeon and head beyond the sealed door. Once you reach the first campsite within, Apocalypse will be waiting just to the side. Flayer. Moving on to polearms, which are of course equipable by Noctis and Ignis, the ultimate weapon here is Flayer. It features 337 attack and plus 4 critical. Those stats are decent and all, but then you also have to factor in the bonus, which adds an additional 80% damage to all finishes that you perform. Flayer, like Balmung, is also found behind the sealed door inside Staylith Grove dungeon. However, for this weapon, you have to go right to the very end of the dungeon and fight a very evil boss which I cannot pronounce, so I'm going to put it on the screen here. Either way, it's not a walk in the park, so be warned. Zwill Crossblades. This pair of daggers are pretty amazing and are equipable by Noctis and Ignis. They feature 345 attack, plus 3 critical, plus 5 to your maximum MP, and give you a plus 25 magic modifier. The attack is one of the lowest featured on this list, but the bonus makes this weapon very strong. When at maximum HP, the damage output gets boosted by 80%, which changes things a great deal if you can maintain it. As you've guessed, such a powerful weapon isn't very easy to obtain. After you've beaten the first 4 of Randolph's quest, he will give you a quest called Wondrous Weapon. This tasks you with taking down the Naglfar, a Deathclaw demon with 875,000 hit points. Death Penalty. Borrowing its name from a rather famous ultimate weapon from the past, Death Penalty is by far the strongest firearm available in the game, and it can be used by Noctis and Prompto. It offers 424 attack, plus 2 critical, and plus 25 spirit, and has a 1% chance of inflicting instant death. Like Apocalypse, this weapon can also be obtained from the Battle of Mines, but it isn't quite as easy as just picking it up off the floor. Death Penalty is avoided by beating a Psychomancer with 445,000 hit points. Ziedrich. Also borrowing its name from a rather famous piece of armour, which of course appeared in Final Fantasy VII, Ziedrich is a beastly shield in Final Fantasy XV. It's equipable by Noctis and Gladiolus. It has 327 attack, plus 1 critical, adds 50 to your vitality, and offers 14 bullet resistance. What makes this weapon pretty sweet though, is that you gain a plus 200 strength bonus for 3 seconds after you perform a blink. This is one of the legendary weapons and it can be obtained from Randall's third quest, Legend Wrapped in an Enigma. For this quest, you need to defeat 2 Satonbres inside the Tomb of the Tall. Drillbreaker Plus. Although not quite as exciting as the other weapon categories, machinery, which are equipable by Noctis and Prompto, can still be very effective. Drillbreaker Plus offers 240 attack, plus 2 critical, plus 12 to your maximum HP, plus 13 to your vitality, and plus 13 to your bullet resistance. But it's essentially just an upgraded version of the Drillbreaker. To obtain this, you therefore need to fulfill one of Cid's fetch quests, just like the Engine Blade and the Drain Lance. For this particular quest, you'll need to obtain a Magitech core, Sword of the Tall. Although this is strictly another great sword, it's a royal arm too, so I felt like it should be treated as a separate class of weapon. It clocks in with a massive 518 attack, plus 2 critical and adds 200 to your maximum HP. However, it does come with a cost. Minus 30 spirit and your resistance to fire, ice, lightning and dark are reduced by minus 40. This kind of makes it worse than Apocalypse and Iron Duke, but it does feature a nice bonus. It has a unique serrated blade that deals multiple hits with every attack, with later hits dealing higher damage. Using this weapon, you can actually perform a warp strike capable of dealing more than 10 hits. The Sword of the Tall is meant to be found within the Tomb of the Tall, but it was stolen and ends up at Castlemark Tower. At the end of this gruesome dungeon, you will fight a Jabberwock, and upon defeating it, you will gain the Sword of the Tall. So that's 8 of the best weapons in Final Fantasy XV and how you can obtain them. There are, of course, other strong weapons in the game, such as Oryx, Cutcris and the Aegis Shield, but maybe they'll make an appearance another time. How many of these weapons have you obtained so far, and what's your favourite to use? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to see this channel continue to grow, please consider checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/FFunion. These awesome folks here have already done so and have access to some pretty cool perks too. Alright guys, this is Daryl signing out. I'll see you next time.